A major winter storm is currently impacting the Northeast, where we're seeing heavy snowfall throughout upstate New York and northern Pennsylvania, and eventually this snow is expected to move into New England. If we were to take a look at the latest depiction of the GFS model, certainty with this storm is of course high at this point. If you're in the northern portions of the Northeast, you need to pay very close attention to very heavy snowfall, as this likely will be a major snow event for many areas of the interior Northeast moving forward into the early portion of Monday. We do see the precipitation eventually moves into Boston, but mainly in the form of rainfall. Much of the interior Northeast experiences snowfall associated with this low pressure system, and moving even more forward, we do see that this storm begins to develop a backside, where we do see snow begin to develop around Pennsylvania and just to the south of Pennsylvania into West Virginia and Ohio, and this backside could move into the more coastal areas in the Northeast, where maybe New Jersey gets involved, upstate New York, as well as a large portion of New England. But for the most part, New York City and Philadelphia will avoid the backside of this low pressure system, where the snow will be just to the north of you guys, as it seems like the air won't be cold enough that far south to bring the heavy snowfall into New York City and Philadelphia. So you need to pay close attention to that in the more coastal areas. The worst of the snow should arrive late Monday as a result of the backside of this low pressure system, bringing heavier snowfall to Connecticut and Massachusetts and eventually Boston in the very late time frame on Monday. So pay very close attention to that, and this snow should move into Maine as well. Now, taking a look at this next snowstorm that we're focusing on associated with this winter storm pattern, we have this low pressure system that's going to be centered right in between the United States and Mexico, and there's going to be just enough cold air behind it and just enough of a strong southerly flow in front of it to create an unstable environment right around the Texas area, and that will allow the snow to develop just to the north of this low pressure system, where Oklahoma and northern Texas should get involved with very heavy snowfall, as certainty is very high at this point. We have both of the two main computer models, the European and GFS model, in high agreement regarding the trajectory and the strength of this low pressure system and the amount of snowfall you should expect. So in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and northern Texas, you need to prepare as if a significant snowstorm is on the way, because the computer models depict that this will be a very significant snowstorm, where you could expect potentially over 6 inches of snow in some localized areas of Oklahoma and Texas. And moving forward with the forecast, this heavy snowfall eventually moves into Missouri by the early portion of Wednesday or very late on Tuesday. So the impact should arrive around St. Louis area sooner than you think, and we see that this low pressure system is quite powerful. It begins to develop a mid-latitude cyclone look, where the precipitation will be on the northwestern side of this low pressure system, creating a heavy amount of snowfall, and you should expect anywhere from 3 to 6 to 6 to 12 inches of snow in many of these areas. And we do see the snow will eventually move into the Ohio River Valley. Louisville and Cincinnati will get involved with snowfall, and St. Louis is still experiencing very heavy snowfall as we approach the early morning time on Wednesday, and this snow will eventually move into Pennsylvania by the midday on Wednesday into later on Wednesday. And the GFS model at this point is expecting a little bit more cold air to be locked in place around Northeast for Philadelphia and New York City to at least get some snowfall before it eventually changes over to rain. I don't expect much, if any, accumulation in the major cities along the Interstate 95 corridor, with the exception of Boston, but it's at least something you want to be aware of for your Wednesday commute around the New York City metropolitan area and even Philadelphia as well, because there could be just enough cold air in place to bring at least some sort of snowfall in those cities. So we want to pay very close attention to that. Northern New Jersey could get anywhere from 1 to 3 to 6 inches of snow. So as Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and Detroit, Chicago, and Indianapolis could get involved with 3 to 6 to potentially 6 to 12 inches of snow in the more localized areas. So you want to pay very close attention to that. And then the snow will eventually move into New England by the late Wednesday into early Thursday time frame, and the heaviest snowfall should occur, I'd say, right around early Thursday for the Boston area, before eventually changing over to rain. There is this ridge just to the east of this low pressure system that's forcing the low pressure system to move northward quick enough to bring more of that rain up along the northeast coast, while you will experience some snowfall. Eventually, the southerly winds will be too much and will bring the temperature too high so eventually the snow will change over to rain, and certainty is very high at this point, but remember, any small differences in the forecast, especially along the Interstate 95 corridor or other areas where you're going to be close to the rain snow line, could make a big difference. So even though the certainty is mainly nailed down for when it comes to the general trajectory of the snow pressure system, remember those small variations in the forecast could make a big difference. So don't let your guard down just yet if you're right up along the rain snow line and you aren't necessarily expecting to receive snowfall accumulation, because we could see that forecast change over the next several days. Now let's take a look at the European model. The European model is showing a very similar forecast as the GFS model. We do see that snow will eventually move into the interior portions of the Northeast associated with this first low pressure system. You should expect anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow to 1 to 3 in some areas in the interior Northeast associated with this first snowstorm. However, this second snowstorm will be more significant, and the European model also expects that a backside of this low pressure system will develop right up along the Northeast, where you could see see heavy snowfall in New England on the backside of this low pressure system, and we do see some snowfall in Albany as well. So you guys want to pay very close attention to that up along the interior Northeast and even New England as well, because the backside of this low pressure system is expected to develop with just enough moisture to bring heavy snowfall even as the storm continues to move eastward. Now taking a look at the second low pressure system, again very similar trajectory and forecast of what the GFS model is stating. We're going to see just enough cold air behind it and just enough of a strong southerly flow to continuously develop this low pressure system and continuously create a high level of convection and convective available potential energy. So we're going to see heavy snowfall throughout Oklahoma, even into northwestern Arkansas. Missouri as well could get involved, and then we do see that much of the Ohio River Valley gets involved with heavy snowfall. This includes Springfield, Indianapolis, Cleveland, and Chicago will get involved with anywhere from 3 to 6 to maybe 6 to 12 inches of snow in some areas in the Midwest. And the European model also expects the snow to move right up along the Interstate 95 corridor. So Philadelphia, New York City should experience some snowflakes before it eventually changes over to rain. It's still uncertain if you're going to experience snowfall accumulation associated with this storm. The current forecast is that you would experience snowfall, but not necessarily any snow that's going to stick on the surface, but that could easily change depending on the temperature and the exact trajectory of the solar pressure system, because while the general trajectory of the solar pressure system is mainly nailed down at this point, that the small differences in the trajectory of the low pressure system could make a big difference when it comes to temperature, and as a result, what form of precipitation you'll experience in New York City and Philadelphia. So of course, there's that possibility that we could be in for a longer duration of snowfall if this low pressure system were to move any further eastward, where we'd see more of that cold air lock in place along the Northeast. So you're going to need to pay close attention to this, even if the forecast doesn't necessarily say you're going to experience much snowfall around the Interstate 95 corridor cities. The snow eventually will move into the interior Northeast and New England by the early Thursday time frame, so pay very close attention to that. And then this low pressure system should move out by later on Thursday, and we should see a significant jet stream dip right behind it. So temperatures will be much colder than average from most of the eastern half of the United States. And this snowstorm, the next two snowstorms that I was just talking to you guys about, will be significant, and you need to stay prepared, because we will experience a large area of 6 to 12 inches of snow associated with these two snowstorms. So here's what the GFS model is forecasting when it comes to snowfall. Of course, we see a large area of over a foot of snow in Arkansas, Missouri, and the southern portion of Illinois. We're going to need to see if that holds up. But at this point, I lean more to European model, because the European model has been a little bit more accurate this winter when it comes to snowfall. But we can't completely disregard the GFS model either, especially since it's very similar to what the European model is stating when it comes to where it's raining the heaviest snowfall. We do see 6 to 12 inches right around Cleveland, 6 to 12 right around Indianapolis, Detroit as well, and even Chicago gets involved with close to 6 inches of snow. Oklahoma City as well, just north of Dallas, you could experience snowfall, and New York City and Philadelphia is right on the border between experiencing heavy snowfall accumulation to no snowfall accumulation. Right now, the forecast is no snowfall accumulation, but you keep in mind any small variations in the temperature might bring some accumulating snowfall to those cities, so don't let your guard down just yet. And in Boston, you could experience maybe around 3 to 6 inches of snow associated with this storm. And of course, just to the northwest of it, you would experience a little bit more than that, since the temperature will be much colder in those areas. And now let's take a look at the European model. The European model is showing a very similar forecast. However, it doesn't expect the snow to be as heavy. We mainly see a large area of 6 to 12 inches, including Cleveland, a large portion of Ohio in general, Pennsylvania, and even northwestern New Jersey could get involved with 6 to 12 inches. I lean more to 3 to 6 inches, since of course this assumes that 1 inch of precipitable rainfall equates to 10 inches of snow, and that's not always a ratio, especially when the temperature is so close to freezing, which will likely be the case associated with these next 2 snowstorms. So we're going to see a little bit more precipitable rainfall within each snowflake, so the snowfall accumulation should be slightly less, but for the most part the European model is right around the ballpark with the snowfall forecast. So we should expect a large area of 6 to 12 inches of snow all throughout the Northeast, including the southern Midwest as well. So here's the full forecast when it comes to the next 2 snowstorms moving through. Of course, you should expect 3 to 6 inches right around Boston, northern Connecticut, as well as a large portion of Massachusetts. Around 3 to 6 inches in the northwestern portion of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. You should expect a large area of 3 to 6 inches, 6 to 12 in the higher elevations of the Northeast and Pennsylvania as well. And we could see 6 to 12 inches in St. Louis, as well as Cleveland could get involved, Indianapolis and Arkansas, Oklahoma, and even southwestern Missouri should get involved with 6 to 12 inches, 1 to 3 in Chicago. So it's going to impact a large area of the Midwest and the Northeast. So you want to pay very close attention to that and take the necessary precautions associated with these next 2 snowstorms moving through. But thank you guys for watching.